Okay, so we're back again at Pennsylvania Live Steamers for part 2 of the visit. We're going to start from the grade crossing, kind of where we left off last time. Basically up right around here, kind of near the caboose. So, once you come around, of course we got, not to scale, but not full size either. We got our crossing signals and our cross bucks for the crossings here. Like I said before, that over there, that's our driveway that comes into the club, and we actually, like normal trains, we blow the horn or whistle for the crossing. And this one, even though this has cross bucks and people often drive through this driveway too, almost nobody ever blows for this one. So we kind of jokingly consider this the private crossing, because in real railroads you don't have to blow your horn or your whistle for a private crossing. So we jokingly say that's a private crossing. So that's why we don't blow for this one. But we always blow for that one over there. Anyway, so once you come through, again, we got the 1-inch scale and 1.5-inch scale side by side on the main coming down this way. And we also, like I said earlier, we have our signals. We run basically block signals like real railroads. Red, green, red over green, yellow, all that good stuff. Absolute signals, non-absolutes. And as I said before, we do have security here. Old whistle sign. If I'm correct, I think that's a Pennsylvania Railroad whistle sign, if I'm correct. I don't see any markings on it. I think it's Pennsylvania Railroad. Then we come down the back straightaway here. Again, another decent grade. This is where you want to make sure your brakes are working, so that you can handle the load you're pulling. We're also right next to a PP&L substation. Every now and again you get to feel a little, if you park over there, certain parts of your car buzz. And another siding for the 1-inch. This is our clubhouse and where we sit and hang out, have our dinners and our potluck dinners. This is a nice grade. I always like coming down here. Usually right about here, depending on what kind of engine you have. If you have a steam engine, like most of them, you have steam brakes in the engine. Gas-powered diesel style engines that are gas-powered, usually when you pull, they run on hydrostatic transmissions, usually the gas-powered ones. And when you start pulling back on the hydrostatic, it pulls down like it's getting ready to go into the other direction. So basically that's your brake on gas power. As you're pulling back towards center, it pulls the engine down. Here's our turntable. If you have an electric powered diesel style electric power like I have, it has almost like what real diesel engines have. It's got dynamic braking in it. In the speed controllers, it's actually set up in the speed controller. As you reduce the throttle, it puts on the dynamics and starts slowing it down. So usually just before the end of that building there, I usually like to start backing my throttle down on mine just to make sure I'm good to go. And we have this nice arched wooden trestle. Back long before my time here, they were selling plaques to raise money for it. I don't think I know any of these names, but like I said, this was put up long before I was here. So this is the wooden arch bridge, arches around the side. Oh, and also, like I said, gas powered has basically the hydrostatic pulls it down for brakes. Diesel I mean, steam, basically have steam brakes, and electric has the dynamic braking that basically pulls it down to stop. But a lot of guys will run brakes on the cars too. Some are vacuum powered, some are air brakes, some work on vacuum. A lot of the guys around here run vacuum brakes on their cars. Once you get a certain size train and you start hauling a certain amount of people, you should have brakes on the rest of your train, because it helps slow it down and helps it stop. Sometimes a lot of guys will run a car, like a box car. They'll run their air compressor or their vacuum pump. They'll run it inside their box car, or a car right behind where they sit to run it. And then either have a remote control or they'll have a switch somewhere that activates them. And if you look, you can see deer. I just noticed. See if I can get them. I see a tail. There are definitely, because this isn't occupied as much as some other places, there's always a lot of deer around here. Actually, I almost hit one with my engine once. That would have been fun. So on the first episode, or whatever you call it, I mentioned how I like this section down here where you basically come around twice. So see, we're back around again. Over there is when you came up over Mercer Bridge, and then you went all the way around. Then once you come back around over the collapsed figure 8, you come over the wooden trestle and you're right back here again. And again, you got the multi-gauge loop. You got the 1 inch, the 1.5 inch on the way back. And on your first time around, here's the 1 inch and the 1.5 inch. So this is, a lot of people like to come up here and take pictures and sit and watch, because it's the most active spot of the railroad, actually, because you actually come through here 2 times. So then you come around. Once you come down this way, oh, there goes the deer again. You come down, and you're starting to get close to the end of the railroad. Again, here's the multi-gauge loop still coming around, and it dips off. I'll show you down here then. So once you come down here, there's a switch right near the signal tower. If you want to put your car in the barn, or you want to come back in the yard, or you want to put your car in the barn, you can put it over there for that section. But if not, you just stay. And then you come down this way. Like I said before, I've never actually went around the multi-gauge loop, but someday I'm building I'm currently inherited a 4 3/4 scale steam engine project that I'm working on. The only place I can run it here is on the multi-gauge. You can see the loop. I'll probably take a little trip down there then. So once that's done, whenever that's done, that's where I'll be running it at, on that multi-gauge loop. And again, that's the top. That was the first time around. We come up for the grade crossing. So now we're down here. And then you come around, and you'll soon be back in the yard. We're currently doing track work. Most of the time, unless it's a few ties that are bad, we'll replace a couple ties here and there if needed. But most of the time what we do is we do what's called panels, track panels. They don't do too much with real railroads, but every now and again you'll see them do a full panel at one time. Like right here, these are new panels. You can see where they start. There's like this panel here. We basically take them out in sections and then we put them in. These are part of the plastic tie upgrades we're working on, upgrading from wood to plastic slowly but surely. These are all new panels in here. Once they're in and they're bolted together, Once they're bolted together, we'll take this stuff. To normal people, this is stone. To the railroad world, it's called ballast. To the non-trained people. And once we're done putting the panels in, we cover it all with the stone or ballast. Then we have a machine, handheld machine, and we call it tamping it. You tamp it underneath the ties, and it raises it up and levels it, makes it back to like this, where it's supposed to be. Like I said, this club started in 1946, moved here about 1970, and it didn't, of course, this wasn't all built in a day or a year or several years. It was done in sections. The first section basically left the yard and went straight down to where the tunnel was and kind of came back. And then the first was basically a loop, like a big circle, and then they added the extra onto it. So it was done in stages. And you could see as it was built and upgraded later on. I mean, I'm sure there was already some type of other trestle here or something before they redid these in 2005. It's 1976, because how else would you have gotten in the club? But another funny thing is, to me, ever since I've been here, I started here in 2014. To me, since you drive over this, and it kind of looks like whatever, I always thought of this as a bridge, you know? And one day at a meeting, we were discussing the 2 tunnels. And I'm like, 2 tunnels? We don't have 2 tunnels. Apparently, this is considered a tunnel. I don't know. But you can see here, more panel tracks, some more new tracks that we're putting in. Much like a real railroad, the work never stops. As soon as you get done replacing everything, you basically start back at the beginning and you keep on going, and it's a never-ending cycle. But we're hoping to prolong it a lot longer now with the plastic ties. We're hoping the plastic ties last longer. They're supposed to. We'll see. So then you come around here. You can either come in and hit the switch, and you come in this way. And this takes you to the transfer table, which if you have equipment stored, you can, that's how you get out into the yard. You come down there, and then you come out in here. And then this brings you into the yard. The main line also will bring you in, and it brings you back into the yard. Or if you're the club engine or you're giving rides or whatever, you can go off the main line and you go on the station track, which takes you underneath the station over there. But if not, you come in and you come in the yard. We got through tracks, we got stub tracks, usually enough room for the most part. That's the station right there. That's where people sit for the club train to come by to give rides. The Ron Station. And like I said, you got the 1.5-inch scale, 1-inch scale, yard and main line for each comes through here, and sidings and etc, etc. And this is our turntable. Turntable gets mostly used during like big run weekends, like spring meets and fall meets, when we have other clubs visiting and people visiting and it gets tight on space. That's usually when the turntable gets used mostly. During regular run days, it doesn't get too much use. But, and then like I said, up here is the multi-gauge. Down there is the, when you bring your equipment in, that's the loading table. Then you come in here. When you're bringing equipment in, you come in there, hit the turntable, and then you head in the yard. Or you can come through here with your other 1-inch gauge and smaller, and this puts you on the loop. the inside multi-gauge loop I keep talking about goes around. Now this switch here baffles my mind. This was done a long time ago. Most people don't even remember who did it, but this is the switch that I think it's up to 4 gauges. Now you look at this. That is a switch. There is some, just to machine those frogs, thought is beyond my brain power to come up with this. Come up with this switch. And multi-gauge loop comes up around, goes over top of the 1 inch and the 1.5 inch main lines. And then the multi-gauge by itself goes around past the right up where all the tracks converge, and then goes around and comes back again. Now we got one more thing I want to show you, which if I don't mention it, and some of my friends who run this, who run down on this track down here, they see this, they'll feel slighted. I'd have to hear about it. I didn't include the Gauge 1, so I would love to get into Gauge 1. I just, just the money. It's just they're basically G-scale size trains, and for the money, I'm not going to get into it, but if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I better be able to sit behind it and ride on it instead of watching it. But anyway, it is really cool. This is a separate track. This is called Gauge 1, which, as you can see, is small, and is not connected to any other of the track here whatsoever. It's called Gauge 1. 90% of everything that runs on it is all actual steam powered. They're small. They're, like I said, they're about the size of a G-scale train, and some run on little crushed up coal, some run on butane, some run on different things. But they got their yard here. But yeah, it's called Gauge 1, and it's really neat, and I'd really love to get into it. I just don't want to spend the money. So here's their yard. Pretty popular. I think this is newer. The stub tracks here, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They even have a tunnel. A little tunnel comes around. They keep doors on it to keep critters out when we're not running. So yeah, that's the Gauge 1 layout. It's pretty cool. Now, one last thing. These bleachers, they're for some kind of stadium. I was told they're from a former stadium in Philadelphia. I don't know. I don't know how true that is or not, but every time I ask somebody, one person says they're from some stadium in Philly, and I ask somebody else, they say no. But if anybody recognizes these bleachers, let me know. So anyway, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. And like I stated in the other video before, this is a private club and private property. We have cameras and security, so trespassing is not recommended. But if you want to check us out and you want to join, or just come down and see what we're about, or hang out, we are more than happy to have you here. This is contact stuff on our website, Pennsylvania Live Steamers, things.com.org. Just put Pennsylvania Live Steamers, website comes up. So we're always welcoming to new members and new people. So if you want to check it out and come down, see what it is, come down on one of our run days and we'll sign you in as a guest, or maybe a work day. The people are here, you can come in, as long as you're here legitimately. We'd love to have you here, even have you join us as a member. Be great. Just don't come around when no one's here. Okay, so thank you very much.